have an opinion on, we can start. Okay. So we're up to Ayin Dalet Amud Aleph. Yeah, we take a...
It's very geschmack how these Mishnas are working out.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're saying now. We're taking a stroll down memory lane for Yavamis right here, tonight's stuff. So, I don't know if it's going to be so geschmack. But it's not so bad. In the beginning, I thought it was going to be harder, but it's really not so difficult. Okay, so again, we're going through the sugyas of what type of husbands, at what point can the husband start being matter the wife's neder, right? Even without the father. So we had said in the last daf that once they make an agreement when they're supposed to get married, and then he's supposed to get married, but for whatever reason got delayed. So we had a Machlokes whether he's allowed to start being matter the neder or not. Right. So that was yesterday's daf. So now today we're going to talk about shemeres yavam. Right. So shemeres yavam, again, let's just chazer over hilchos yavamis a little bit. So a guy dies without kids, so his brothers have to be meyavam his wife. If he has multiple brothers, then all of them have a choice. With one of them has to do it. Only one can do it, but they all have some sort of Zika. Anyone remembers that word? Zika. Yeah. So the Zika means that they have a connection. There's a natural God-given connection, which is going to be very important because it comes in that it's coming from Hashem. Right, there's a God-given connection between this lady, the almana, and her brothers-in-law. So the question is, does that connection allow them to be mater her nedarim? Right, meaning it's not marriage because they have to get married first before they're actually allowed to have any relationship. But the question is there enough of a connection there for them for the men to be mater the neder, the brothers-in-law? So now we're going to have three different shittas. One is that they don't have any connection. The connection is not strong enough, and none of them could be mater in the nedarim. Another one is that if there's only one brother-in-law, then that's enough of a connection because he's an automatic. He either has to do chalitz or he has to do yibum. And then there's the middle shitta which says it depends. It's going to depend. So that's basically what the shittas in the Mishna are. And then there's an interesting hashkafic Machlokes of how to look at marriages, meaning the shidduch part of the marriage. So let's see, Zok the Mishna, yeah. On the top, shemeres yavam. So the woman, when she's waiting for yibum, is called a shemeres yavam. Literally means she's watching for her yibum, but she's waiting for one of these guys to either do yibum or do chalitza, right? As we know nowadays, we don't do yibum, we just do chalitza. So shemeres yavam, bein yavam echad, bein shnei yivmin. Whether she's waiting for one yavam, meaning she only has one brother-in-law, or she has two brothers-in-law. R Elazar, so R Elazar, shita is yafer. Either one of the brothers is allowed to be made for the neder. Right? Rabbi Yeshua, only if she has one brother. But if she has two brothers, only if she has one brother-in-law. If she has two brothers-in-law, then it can't. How can you say one of them? Only one of them is going to be meyavam her or machlitz her. So how can you say that one of them could be matter the neder if maybe that guy is not going to be the one to do the chalitz or the yibum? Right. So we have no idea which one it's going to be. Rabbi Kiva says not even one, not one and not two, neither one are allowed to. He says Zika is not strong enough to be considered a marriage. All it is a like a reservation or something. That's all it is. They're supposed to be some sort of interaction, but that's not nearly enough to allow the husband or the future husband or the brother-in-law, whichever you want to say, to be mater her nedarim. Now, there's just one little fact missing here from the Mishnah, right? She's engaged. So what's with the father? Where does the father come into this? Is this that they're being mater without the father, or with the father? Meaning, do they need the father to be mater this too?
Maybe it's Eris in here.
What? Well, if it's Erison, then you need the father.
Right.
So that is going to be the question. Does Zika make it like Nisuin and they could do without the father, or only makes it like Erison and you still need the father? Right? Well, what meaning we know that when the girl is engaged, right, when she has Kiddushin, then you need the father and the husband. One cannot do it without the other. They need each other in order to be matzah. All of a sudden, here comes the Mishnah, and it starts talking about a shemeres yavam, that which one of her brothers-in-law is, if at all, can be matzah her nedarim, and there's not a mention of the father. Right? So it seems like right now we're assuming that Zika makes nesuin, and therefore the husband has nothing. It has nothing to do with the father. The father's out because the Zika makes it as if they're married, mamish, nesuin, not just kedushin. Right? That's what it's mashma now. The Gemara is going to change that. But again, we have three shittas. You have R Elazar who says that even there's multiple brothers, any one of them can be mater and adon. Yeshua says only if there's one brother-in-law, and Rabbi Kiva says no brothers-in-law can do it. Fine. Now the Gemara, now they have a machlokes about what the pshat is. If you have a wife that he voluntarily, meaning he decides who he's marrying, right? Meaning in a standard marriage, he's allowed to be mater nedarim. This wife, whose husband died, so he didn't choose to marry his sister-in-law. Right? It's Hashem decided. Hashem said, your brother died. You have to marry your sister-in-law. Ain't it? Didn't she offer neder? Isn't it a kavachayim that should be matter in the neder? Right?
But it's not a marriage. They're not married.
Well, it's right. Well, it's not marriage, but it's supposed to be a marriage.
But he's comparing someone that picked a woman to be his wife for marriage versus someone God heaven picked, but they're not married yet. That's not the case in the Mishnah.
No, correct. But we're trying to say that there will be a marriage here. Potentially there could be a marriage if he so chooses.
Why
right?
why are we mechalik if it's Hashem gave the marriage or if you picked the marriage? What does that have to do with Mefer Nedarim?
Oh, so he's saying that that's what the answer is not going to be like that. He's basically
why is Mefer Nedarim tied to if Rabbi Shalom picked or didn't pick? You trying to be mechalik if Hashem did it or somebody? Well, why is that a chiluk?
Because is there a connection here between the spouses? Meaning, should there be any power, let's call it that, of the husband over the wife to be mater her nedarim? Right? So, meaning if she's married to a man and it's a voluntary marriage, yet the husband can say that her nedarim are out. So when she's stuck in this marriage, meaning with the yavam, she has no choice. He can go marry whoever he wants. She is stuck with this guy. How can you say that this guy can't be mater her nedarim? Meaning, if she's trying to get her nedarim to be mater, right? She comes to the Rabbanan Shalom, she comes to bed, and she says, I don't understand. My friend who's voluntarily married, her husband she makes nedarim all the time, and her husband just bounces them, right? I lost my husband. Now I'm stuck in a marriage. I can't even get married to anybody else, even if I wanted to, until this guy gives me chalitza. Shouldn't he be able to be mater my nedarim? Right? No, you're not hearing it. That's if I was a woman, I would time to that. It's not. Why should I lose out? Because Hashem forced me.
I want to ask you. So then, if a father sells the girl at 8 years old, so then
that's true. But yes,
I don't understand. So what do you mean? I was forced.
No,
my father sold me off.
Good. She got stuck with a bad father. What should I tell you?
So she got stuck. That the Rabbanan Shalom gave
she got stuck from the Rabbanan Shalom.
Okay, so I'm saying, but
so she's telling the Rabbanan Shalom that let him at least be mater my nedarim.
What does nedarim have to do with because the Rabbanan Shalom?
Because she that's part. It seems that part and parcel of a marriage is that the husband has the power to be mater his wife's nedarim. Right? So she says, I'm stuck in a marriage now. Even though we're not married yet, but I'm stuck. I can't move from this. She's not allowed to date. She's not allowed to go and marry anybody. So you should at least let him be matir my nedarim.
Why?
Right?
Why?
Because she's stuck with this guy.
So okay.
So why should she lose that? She should, at least the guy shouldn't be matir nedarim. You're right. There's no direct correlation between nedarim and the marriage. 100%, I agree with you. But she is stuck in this thing.
Maybe there's another way to look at it. Just, I mean, in general, what's stronger, something that's man-made or something that's God-made?
So that's what I'm saying. This is a philosophical.
What does that have to do with nedarim? Man-made?
Yes.
Very simple. Very simple. God told us that the bond that is called erusin gives the husband a right to be made for the wife's nedarim. That's a given. Now, if the bond does that, then a much stronger bond, which is one made by God himself, should definitely be able to do that.
Why is that a stronger bond?
Because in general, I would say something God made is stronger than something man made.
A person is using their bechira. That's what a person is supposed to do. So that should be the strongest bond. She's using a bechira to marry Yankel. She's using a bechira. She made a decision, a conscious human decision. That should be the
something man-made because it's made through bechira is stronger than something God made.
Yes.
If somebody gets married,
that.
Yes.
I don't know.
See, Yaakov.
Yeah.
I don't know if we spoke about it in Yavamis. Could she marry somebody and say, you don't have any shlita over my nedarim. I'll marry you, but you don't have any shlita over my nedarim. Because it's not one of the three things he has to supply her with or accomplish. The marriage doesn't have to.
What do you mean? Can she what?
One of the things she says, I'll marry you. I love you, but I don't want you to have anything to do with my nedarim.
The brother-in-law or another?
No, the first husband. The guy.
She's asking
a regular chakalo says to the guy, I'll marry you, but you don't have anything to do with my nedarim. I had enough trouble with my father. I don't know. You have nothing to do with my nedarim.
I hear. I don't know.
The Torah says he has allowed to be made for. How can she make such a tonight?
Why not? Man, why can't you make it tonight?
Well, that would be Masna Mashikos Batayr. The other ones, the things the Rabbanon gave the husband the right over, she could be Masna. Any Nizailis, any Isa, she can say. She can't come straight out and say, you don't have the right that the Torah gave you.
That's what I'm saying. How could you do that?
I don't know. Is that a Masna Mashikos Batayr? You think so? Maybe. I'm not sure. Anyways, okay, but that's Rabbi Elazar's time. Okay, the Olam doesn't like it, some of them likes it, he's okay, that's his time. The Mina Shamayim is stronger. Amalei Rabbi Kiva, we're 6 lines down from the top. So Amalei Rabbi Kiva, Loi, im Amr Be'isha Shekana Hula Atzmai. Right, Shein La Chayrim Ba Rishus, by when a guy is kinda his wife, so he's kinda it, meaning she becomes his exclusively and nobody has rishus on his wife, right? Meaning if somebody else goes and marries her, kedushin is nothing, right? When a guy goes over to an Ashish ish and says, Hareyan Mikudeshusli, that's nothing. Timer Be'isha, Shehiknu Lam in a Shemayim, right? So you're going to say this, that by a woman who they're giving to him in a Shemayim, Sheyesh Lachayim Ba Rishus, that others do have rishus, right? Because here, by Yavama, by at least 2 Yavamas, neither one of these brothers-in-law has exclusive rights to this sister-in-law. One meaning there's no one connection. There's multiple if the multiple brothers. Again, Rabbi Kiva is the one that Rabbi Kiva says it doesn't work for either one of them, right? But he's saying Lamaisa. You can't say there's a specific connection to one man because she has multiple brothers-in-law. So how can you say, meaning in a marriage, maybe the reason why the husband can be matir than a daughter, because the wife is exclusively his. Masha'en came by yibum, it's not like that. So and then Rabbi Shua gets involved. Amalei Rabbi Shua, Akiva, Tvarecha b'shnei yimin. You're right when there's two brothers-in-law. What are you going to say if there's only one brother-in-law? If one brother-in-law, then he's exclusive. She's exclusive to him, or he's exclusive to her. Right? So that's so that meaning because Rabbi Shua is the one that says if there's one brother-in-law, then he could be mater nedarim. Rabbi Kiva says, right, but if there's two, you can't. And Rabbi Kiva says even one you can't. So Rabbi Kiva's taina makes sense if there's multiple brothers-in-law, but it doesn't make sense if there's only one, which is Rabbi Shua's taina, which is why Rabbi Shua says if there's one brother-in-law, then it does work. So Amraloi, so Rabbi Kiva said back to him, Eina yavama gemura liyavam. It's not. Some say it doesn't mean. It means you have to supposed to write liisha, not liyavam. But Eina yavama gemura liyavam kashem sharusa gemura liisha. It's not gomer. The connection between a wife and her brother-in-law is not the same strength of connection between engaged couples. Why? Because if she's mezana, there's no misa, there's no skila, right? Meaning when you get engaged or whatever kiddushin to a woman, so if she's mezana, there's an automatic misa. So that means that's a very strong connection. If a shemeres yavam, she's just waiting for yibum, decides to give up on her brothers-in-law and goes and gets married to somebody else, there's no skila there. So therefore, it's much less of a connection. That's what Rabbi Kiva is saying. So ultimately, Rabbi Kiva is saying that you can't say that connection is so strong between a yavam and a yavama, or potential yavam and yavama, because lemaisa, if she's mizana, nothing happens to her. I don't know, nothing happens to her, but certainly it's not misa like it would be from an engaged thing. Yeah.
And how does Rabbi
Yes,
Elazar?
can I ask Gershon something?
Go ahead.
Gershon, do we find more by Rabbi Akiva that they just called it, that people called him Akiva? I feel that it happened more places in Shas that they call it his. They call him
Akiva Nichamtani.
Yeah, they call him Akiva, right? It seems to me more times than by other people, but I don't know.
I mean, instead of Rav or Rabbi?
Yeah, that his friends called him, they said to him Akiva,
Yeah, that's
the other time said to him Akiva. I just thought I saw that more, or I heard it more than okay.
It's interesting. It's an interesting point. When do they call him Akiva?
There's another interesting point here.
The Gemara always calls him Rabbi Kiva, right? It's only his friends.
Yeah.
It's Rabbi Akiva who holds this, even though he holds Ein Kiddushin Tayfsim B'chai Ve'lach. So even though, as far as other people marrying her are concerned, it's the same deal, the fact that there's no Chiyuv Misa makes a big difference to Rabbi Akiva. So really, he's saying to Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Elazar, according to you, Kol Sheken, you should hold this. You hold Kiddushin Tayfsim, and you say somehow this is a big, yeah.
Okay, very good. Very good. That's a good sushta. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so that's the three-way machlokes.
Even the article puts it in parentheses, Rabbi Akiva.
It does?
Yeah. It doesn't say Akiva, it just says with an R.
I hear. Okay.
Oh, it says Amar Loi. When it says Amar Loi.
Okay, that could be because it's just saying who's saying to who.
Right, but they could have just said it.
But
He
they
said
could have said
Akiva.
Akiva. Right. I hear that.
I think Rabbi Shua was older than him. Didn't we have this with the Yom Kippur Maisa? Rabbi Yeshua was the one that ultimately passed over Rabbi Akiva, no?
By
Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Gamliel.
Right.
Rabbi Yeshua became the Nasi, and then he was
right.
Nasi.
Correct.
Then, yeah.
Right. You mean so that's
he was older, so he called the Akiva.
I hear. Okay, good
They
point.
called his son Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha.
Right, very good, Happy.
The bald one.
Right, very good.
1 second. That's who?
Rabbi Akiva's son.
Right. That's right.
Rabbi
Right.
Yeshua ben Karcha. The Rabbi Yeshua, the son of the bald one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Did we say pshat in that once?
We spoke about it. I don't know
Yeah.
if he said that.
Yeah. That's a good aura. Yeah, I don't know. Rabbi Akiva's relationship with everybody was quite interesting. Right? We can leave it at that. Okay, so Zog the Gemara, yeah? So again, we have the three shittas. That's a main thing to know. So Bishlam, we say Rebbe Kiva, right? Bishlam Rebbe Kiva, Savar Ein Zika. So Rebbe Kiva holds that there's no Zika. So since there's no Zika, so meaning he doesn't hold of the whole concept that there's some sort of connection, let's call it that. So that's why he says that the brother-in-law can't be matir neder. Rabbi Yehuda Savar Yesh Zika. I'm sorry, Rabbi Yeshua Savar. Rabbi Yeshua holds that there is Zika. So since there's Zika, so he could be matir neder. El Rabbi Elazar, my timer. What does Rabbi Elazar hold? Right now, this, by the way, it's very important. Another one of these Nedarim confusions. It's Rabbi Eliezer, even though it keeps saying Reish Aleph, it's Rabbi Eliezer, because in a line from now, it's going to be Rebbe, a few lines, it's going to be Rebbe Elazar. Okay? And otherwise, if you got to know, make sure that we know that. Rebbe Eliezer, my time. What does Rebbe Eliezer hold? Zika. If you say that there is Zika, ain breira. But there's no choice, meaning who decided which, meaning Rabbi Eliezer holds, the guy, there could be 10 brothers that have to do yibum to this lady. All 10 of them could be matir her nedarim. All 10 could be matir her nedarim. But if good, you want to say yesh zika. So each one of them is connected to this lady, but only one of them is marrying her. So how could all 10 of them? You don't know which one's going to do the yibum or the chalitza. How can all 10 of them be matir her nedarim according to Rabbi Eliezer? Right? Okay. So Amar.
Why are we forced to say he holds ain breira? Isn't there
why can maybe he says yesh breira?
He holds yesh breira?
Yes, I don't know. I don't know why the Gemara is just assuming that it has to be ein breira.
Especially we had a tzad that he holds yesh breira in Shabbos, no? And Rabbi Eliezer Demila, there was a tzad that he holds yesh breira.
Yeah, but is the yesh breira by the Rabbanons or even by the Deraises? That's the only thing I was thinking. That's the only thing I was thinking. Maybe by Deraises he's not going to say yesh breira. Maybe, but but I don't know. Either way, so the Gemara is assuming he says ein breira. So how could it be that every brother-in-law has the right to be matir her nedarim, right? So Amar Rav Ami. So Rav Ami says, hold on, Kigoin sha'asa b'maimer. Oh, my mama's getting the yavamas, the whole yavamas, or ksubas. He did. We're talking about where one brother did maimer. Maimer, if the Olam remembers, is like the engagement, meaning one of them. It's like kiddushin. Meaning there was a whole shiloh where he has to sign. Let's say he signed a paper saying he will do the yibum. So that one brother that did maimer is going to be the one that's what we mean. We don't mean all the brothers. Rabbi Elazar doesn't mean that all the brothers can do it. He just means the one that does maimer can do it. Rabbi Eliezer look at beis Shammai, and Rabbi Eliezer holds like beis Shammai. Amri maimer kind of kinyan gomer. The shita of beis Shammai is that maimer is mamish a kinyan, right? But again, it's a derabbanon. Midaraisa maimer is nothing. All maimer is a letter of intent, essentially, that he's going to do the yibum, right? So but that's what it is. But beis Shammai holds, and Rabbi Eliezer is going like beis Shammai.
And that potters up all the other brothers.
Doesn't pater them. I mean, could they go? Yeah. What's in negay to other brothers? Yeah, they're allowed to get married anyways to other women, right? Now the question is, Peretz, you're right. Can they go? Can another brother swoop in and decide to do yibum or chalitza? That yes, he could.
Well, right? they also can't. They can't marry her sisters.
Correct. We're going to get to that.
With the rice.
Correct. You can't. Right. They're still right. They cannot marry her sister yet because.
Yeah, but either way, how would they be able to marry the sister? Because if the brother dies, doesn't the chiyuv of yibum fall back on them again?
No, meaning the yibum's the yavama's sister. She's not a relation to any of them. Two brothers can marry two sisters, right? But not. You can't marry the sister of somebody who you're supposed to do yibum to, because that's like your wife's sister. That's what Gershon was saying. So the other brothers, they're going to say, it's not my wife's sister. He did maimer. But they still are not allowed to go marry her sister until the yibum. Once the yibum's done, then they could go marry the sister.
Rich Yaakov, what if all the brothers were mefer together? Does that work?
I mean, all
or maybe that's what Maybe that's what Elazar meant in general. Yefer is all the brothers. If there's 10 10 brothers, they all have to be mefer.
You think that that's what Rabbi Eliezer says, or what happens if all 10 brothers do it?
Either or, right? Right.
I hear that. I don't know. It's a good point. Let all 10 brothers be mefer. When meaning then everybody should agree, according to what you say. Even though all three, Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Kiva, they should all agree.
Rabbi Akiva
So it
would
depends
still
on
argue,
how
Rabbi Yeshua
strong the
should
if
argue.
Zika is.
if you hold there's no Zika, then okay, so right. So if you go to Rabbi Kiva, there's no Zika, so okay, so then that's out. But if with the others, the Rabbi Yeshua, so yeah, I hear that's a good point. I don't know. That's a good point. I let them all. If all 10 do it, what should be? But it seems like they don't want to say that that's pshat in Rabbi Eliezer that all 10 did it. That seems like they don't want to say pshat in that. Okay, so that's what it is. So Rabbi Eliezer holds that it's talking about where she did mimer, but he did mimer to her. Rabbi Yeshua, Aimerlach, Rabbi Yeshua is gonna say Hani mili b'chad yavam. That's only when there's one brother. But when there's two yibum, like Mika, Midi, Techi Asi, he changes this to Achua, right? Ika, Midi, is it possible that one brother could come and and can come in and intercept the mimer, right? That's what we were saying, parents, right? You intercept the mimer, and he can have bia or give her a get, and knocks out the brother, and Mayfair, and then he could be, but the first guy is going to be Mayfair it. Meaning, yeah, granted, right? Rabbi Yeshua is saying, granted, mimer makes a stronger connection, 100%. But the bottom line is another brother can come in and knock out the mimer. If another brother comes in and does yibum to her or gives her a get, so then that's it. So how can you say that first brother who did mimer can be mefer if another brother can intercept the whole thing? Right. So that's what Rabbi Yeshua says. Rabbi Kiva saver ain't Zika, and Rabbi Kiva says there's no Zika. Right. So therefore there's nothing to talk about. Now you see now this next thing it says in our Gemara, who the Rabbi Eliezer, right? And the Masaras Shas changes it to Rebbe Elazar, which it has to be. It cannot be Rebbe Eliezer because we just got finished saying that Rebbe Eliezer holds like Beis Shammai, who says that Zika is a kinyan gomer. So now Gemara is saying, well, the Rebbe Elazar, the Amar Maimer Beis Shammai ain't kinda ela litchos betzara. But according to Rebbe Elazar, who says that according to Beis Shammai, Maimer is only kinda to push off the tzara, right? Meaning that the tzara is not involved anymore. Ma'ikal and Meimar, what are you going to say? So now there's two ways of understanding this question. There's the complicated way, and then there's the easy way, the way the Mefarsh says it. So we'll take the easy way, versteht's, right? So we're talking about, and I don't want to get anybody to bring back PTSD over here from from Yavamas, but basically you have two sisters, right? And they both, how does it go again? There were two women, right? And it was two sisters, right? Two sisters, let's call it two sisters. And the both brothers died. And so they both need yavam. Now one guy can't be miyavim both. One brother cannot be miyavim both because we know bias echad. Right, he only can buy. We knew that from the pasuk. You can only do yibum to one bias and not to two batim. All right. So, but let's say Beis Shammai says mimer is kind of that he does what if the guy does mimer to one wife, then that the other wife can already go out and get married, even though because she's a tzara. So since one of the wives already got married, so then that's it. All right, but she's still stuck with the brothers, that the brothers can make her asa, right? That's the that part is, yeah. Or we can say that it's talking about three brothers. We have three brothers, two of them married two sisters. Are we following that? You have three brothers, two married, two sisters, and then there was a single brother. Then one of the brothers who was married to the sisters died. Yeah, and then the brother that was single did mimer to one of them. So the other one is going to go out because they no longer can do yibum because she's achais isha, right? Essentially, it's the sister, even though she needs yibum, but it's achais isha, which is an isser. So we said when it's an isser daraisa on top of sister-in-law, then it's out. But we say, so if he did mamar, that's a kinyan gomer. Right? But Rabbi Elazar holds it doesn't mean a kinyan gomer, meaning he says he disagrees. He says dafka litchos b'tzara b'vad. That's only to push off the tzara, right? But to allow a get, you're not allowed. Whatever it is. So those are the two scenarios. But essentially what the Gemara is asking is according to Rabbi Elazar, right? We said, it's not making it sound. It is complicated, but at the end of the day, the question is very simple. We said that Rabbi Eliezer, the reason why he's allowing these shemeres, the brothers-in-law, to be mater nedarim, is because we're going like Beis Shammai, who says that that mamar is a real connection, and since mamar is a real connection, therefore that brother is allowed to be mater the nedarim, right? But according to Rabbi Elazar, who says that Beis Shammai says it's not a real connection, so then why is he allowed to be mater the nedarim? That's essentially the kasha. That's all we need to know. Right? Why? It's a Machlokes is what beis Shammai means. So the opinion that says beis Shammai means it's not a real connection. So how can you be matir nedarim? So we answer three lines of the bottom. So what happens is that when these brothers are busy fighting who's going to be the winner to marry the sister-in-law. Let's say they hate the sister-in-law, right? So they're fighting who's going to do it, or who's going to do the chalitza. And Bezdin gets fed up, and she brings him to Bezdin and says, "Okay, these guys have to do something." So Bezdin paskins and there's chayav lamazainis, and they paskin that one of them has to take it and is chayav mazainis. Right? So now he's mechuyev to feed her. So then because Rav Pinchus mishmei the Rava, and then that's like Rav Pinchus in the name of Rava, who we had yesterday's daf. Amar kol nederas al das baili nederas. Remember we said yesterday that when a woman makes a neder, she makes a neder not based on who's married to her or who's engaged to her. It's all based on who's supporting her. She knows that when she makes a neder, the guy that's in charge of feeding her is going to have the rights to be mater her neder. So we said yesterday that Rav Pinchus, that's why he allows after they're engaged for a year and the husband's supposed to start supporting her, so then he has the right to be mater her neder even though they weren't married. So the same thing here. Since Bezdin paskin that this guy is mechuyev to be mater this guy's mechuyev now al pi Bezdin to support his sister-in-law, so therefore he's allowed to. He's allowed to not allowed, but he's allowed to be mater nedarim because it's based on support. Fine. So that's the end of that. So on to Amud Aleph now. So again, the reason why we're saying that Rabbi Eliezer holds, Rav Ami said that the reason why Rabbi Eliezer holds it can be matir the neder is because we're going like Beis Shammai, who says that mamar is legitimate. So Amar Rabbi Eliezer, so now we're going to ask, Uma im Isha. Uma im Isha shekana la'atzmai. Isha that he's kind of for himself, or for nederah, he's matir nedarim. Isha shehikna leim in hashamayim in edin shemay for nederah. Right, that's what Rabbi Eliezer said in the Mishna. Bibish also ba mamar, but if they did mamar, kana la'atzmahu, that's not called min hashamayim. That's called he was kind of himself. Right, meaning what was Rabbi Eliezer's taina in the Mishna? Right, Zev, you didn't like his taina at all, but now according to his taina, he's saying that if a guy chooses to marry a woman, he could be mater or nedarim. So here Hashem decided it. So then, of course, it should be mater. So the Gemara is saying, what do you mean? But we're talking about where there was mamar here. Mamar means he decided that he's marrying her, right? So that's called man-made. That's not called min hashamayim. So the Gemara says, no, can't be. Shekana la'atzmai al yidei shamayim. The only reason why he's allowed to do mamar is because Shemayim said that he's supposed to do yibum to his sister-in-law, right? So that's basically a connection min Shemayim. I'm not sure exactly what Gemara's Havamina was. I mean, it's not like you're going to say that Maimer is right. You're not going to say that Maimer. The only reason why the Maimer works with the yavama, right? A guy from the street can't do Maimer to her. Right, it has to be a connection in a shemayim, which is what the Gemara answers. Yeah, fine. Tifshay. So then the Gemara says, now because based on this Gemara, Tifshay debayi Rabbi, let's try and answer question that Rabbi had. Mamar lebeis Shammai. According to beis Shammai. Again, mamar is when there's a letter of intent that one of the brothers is going to do yibum or chalitza to the sister-in-law. So erisin isa, does it make erisin or nesuin isa, or does it make marriage? Right? Does mamar make it the first step of kedushin, or the first step of marriage is kedushin, or does it even do the second step, which is nesuin? Tifshait, so we say tifshait to nesuin isa. Let's say that it makes actual marriage. The erisin isa, because if it just makes engagement, hatnan naira murasa v'yu ba'alam afir nederah. If a girl that's engaged, her father and her husband are mat in the neder. Right? Meaning, we discussed this in the Mishna. We said in the Mishna, what happened to the father? We said we're talking about if the yavam the shemeres yavam can have her nedarim be mated by her brothers-in-law. Where's the father in all this? Right? There's no mention of the father. So the Gemara says it must be that because according to R Elazar, they did mamar, and when they did mamar, so it must be as if she's married. And when she's married, meaning nesuin, the second stage of marriage, that's the husband's job. The father's out. So could we say that? No, what it means is when we say mefer, it means to do it with the partnership, meaning the father also has to be mata. All right, don't think that it's just the Mishnah doesn't mention the father, but it goes without saying. It's like unwritten, and of course the father does it. Yeah, fine. Tanya Nami Hachi. So we learn like this in a brisa, Kirab Ami, like Rav Ami. Now this is just a extended. We get a freebie on this a little bit. This is an extended brisa on the Mishnah. Shemeres yavam. So a woman waiting for yibum, ben yavam, echad ben shnei yibum, whether she's waiting for two brothers-in-law, one brother-in-law. Rabbi Elazar Omer yafer. Rabbi Elazar says you may for it. Rabbi Yeshua Omer leechad v'loy l'shnayim. You're matter one. And meaning if there's one brother-in-law it works, if there's two brothers-in-law it doesn't work. Not for one and not for two. Right? That's the Mishnah. Now here it changes. The shakulatariya of why each one says their opinion changes. A woman who does not have a chelik, who meaning he has no chelik in her before he comes into the rishus, meaning you have a single girl, no connection to the husband at all, until they get married. Mishabas the rishusai nigmaralai. Once she comes into his rishus, she becomes totally his, meaning b'negei to nedarim, meaning they got engaged tonight. Today she has no connection to him whatsoever. All of a sudden they get engaged. He gives her a ring. He says Arean mikudeshes li, and now he's in control of her nedarim. Right. So Isha sheyesh lechelek acheloi tavel rishusai. So this woman who does have a chelek, because there was mamar, mishabas the rishusai and it didn't tigmaloi. So before the mamar, there's still a connection, right? Because there's Zika, because she's stuck with one of these brothers-in-law. So mishabas rishusai and it didn't tigmaloi. So once she comes into his rishus with mamar, then avada he should be able to be mated and neder, right? That's Rabbi Eliezer's din. Again, we're saying Rabbi Eliezer holds that there was mamar done here. So Rabbi Eliezer has a pashat of kavachayim. He says, by a single girl, you have no connection to her whatsoever. She gets married, you have a connection to mater her nedarim. So a shemeres yavam who there's a connection to, and then she has mamar. So avada he should be able to be mated and nedarim. Amalei Rabbi Kiva. So Rabbi Kiva said back to him, lo yam amri pe isha shekanahu la'atzma. By an isha, he marries her himself voluntarily. Right? Just like he didn't have any chelik in her before the kedushin, because others also don't have, right? Meaning she's single, so nobody has any connection to her. But this woman, the shemeres yavam, that it's from shemayim, the same way that he has a chelik in her, so the brothers also have a chelik in her. Meaning, even though there was mamar done, but there's still the brothers can swoop in and knock out the mamar. So there's a connection all the way around. So therefore, it doesn't work. Right? That's what Rabbi Akiva said. Rabbi Yeshua said to him, Akiva, you're right when there's two brothers. What are you going to answer if there's only one yavam? Right? This is just a more expanded version of what the Mishnah says. He said to him, Klum chilaknu al yavam echad al shnei yavamin. are we going to differentiate between one yavam and two yavim, bein she'asa b'maimer, bein she'lo yasa b'maimer, and whether whether there was maimer or not, and not maimer, ubeshar dvarim kein nedarim, because in other things, the same way there are, the maimer doesn't really change anything by other things, so it's not going to, it's going to be the same thing by nedarim, right? Which this is very vague what he's saying. Basically, what Rabbi Yeshua, what Rabbi Akiva is saying back to Rabbi Yeshua, he's saying that yes, it's very nice that you want to compare maimer to shemeres yavam, etc., but there's one big difference between maimer and a regular marriage, which the Gemara is going to say on the beis. So that's what Rabbi Akiva answered Rabbi Yeshua. Amar Ben Azai, when Ben Azai heard Rabbi Akiva's answer back to Rabbi Yeshua, he says, "Chaval alecha Ben Azai shelo shimashta as Rabbi Akiva." It's a chaval on you that you did not learn by Rabbi Akiva, because like this you would know how to have good arguments, right? So okay, so that's the end of that brisa. So what is this? What exactly did Rabbi Akiva say on top of beis? So my Tanya Kel Seder Rav Ami. No, I'm sorry. How is this proving Rav Ami? Again, Rav Ami said that it has to be maimer. How does this brisa prove Rav Ami? This brisa is just a expanded version of what is said in the Mishna. So Gemara says the Katani. What did Rabbi Akiva say back to him? Bein she'asa b'maimer, bein she'lo yasa b'maimer. Right? Whether you did maimer, whether you didn't do maimer. Right? So you see, if Rabbi Akiva is answering back to Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Elazar, whether she did maimer, whether she didn't do maimer, that means Rabbi Elazar is saying that his din applies, that the only time the brother-in-law could be matin in the nedarim is when there was maimer. Otherwise, what's Rabbi Akiva talking about maimer for? What's he bringing up maimer for? Elamai, Rav Asi is right that Rabbi Elazar only says his din when there was maimer. Inami bereisha, or we could say from the reisha, the katani. What's the reisha say? Mishna nichlasel reshusay nigmar aloi. When she comes into his rishus, she becomes totally his. She becomes totally his. But if they didn't do any sort of kiddushin, which again doesn't mean kiddushin, but it means maimer. My nigmar aloi. What does it mean? She becomes totally his. Tifshed minei kishasa b'maimer. So the only way to explain it is when there was maimer. So the only way to explain this back and forth in the brisa is when you say that there was maimer. Fine. So that's why this brisa is a proof to Rav Ami that Rabbi Elazar and Chanami. So it comes out in the practical that according to Rabbi Elazar, the way Rav Ami explains it, if there's no maimer done here, then Enochanami, none of the brothers-in-law can be matar and nedarim. It's only when there was maimer, right? And this brisa proves that, because there's no other way to understand this brisa unless maimer was done. Fine. So now, what at the end of the day, what is Rabbi Akiva answering back to them that ukashar dvarim kein nedarim, mayu ukashar dvarim kein nedarim to katani amar Rav hachi katani iya tamayda shein chayav and skila kenayra marasa. You have to be maida that she's not chayav skila like a naira marasa. You again, Rabbi Elazar is comparing an engaged girl or one that has kedushin to maimer. So Rabbi Akiva is answering back, which he answered back in the Mishna, just not as clear as this. This is a little bit more unclear. He's saying, what do you mean? You can't say that the connection between a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law before they did yibum is the same as an engaged woman. An engaged woman, if she's mezana, she's chayav skila. A woman waiting for yibum is not chayav skila. So how can you say that it's the same connection and they should be able to be mated in a nedarim? So Amar Rav Ashi masnisa nami deika. The Mishna is also meduyik like this because it says ein yavama gemura isha. The yavama is not a complete wife to her husband. Isha here again means her husband. Anytime it says isha with a yud, it's her isha, her husband. She doesn't have a complete connection to her husband. The same way an arusa is complete to her husband. Why? Because an arusa, if she's mezana, gets skila. And a woman waiting for yibum does not get skila. She's not allowed to be with anybody, but if she does, she's not allowed to get skila. So the bottom line is Rabbi Akiva's tying it back, is that you can't say that the connection between a shemeres yavam, a woman waiting for yibum, is the same as one who's married, and therefore the one who's married is a much stronger connection, because if she's mazana, there's skila, so therefore he could be matar her nedarim. But But Rabbi Elazar says, no, that you don't need to have that strong a connection. As long as there's some sort of connection there with a mamar, that's enough to enable him to have to be mater nedarim. So again, essentially, the Machlokes that we could come out from tonight is basically how strong does the connection need to be between man and woman to be mater nedarim. Rabbi Elazar says it just needs to have a mamar. That's it. He just needs a letter of intent that he's going to do yibum to her, and then that's enough. He could be mater nedarim. Rabbi Akiva says, what kind of connection is that? That's not a connection. Not a connection at all, right? Because if she's mazana, nothing happens. When she's engaged, if she's mazana, something happens, right? When she's not engaged, when she's waiting for yibum, nothing. So then, when she's waiting for yibum, nothing happens. So therefore, how can you say there's a connection there to this man? When they're engaged, if he's mazana, there is a connection, and therefore he could be mater nedarim, right? So again, it's basically whether the finances, meaning once he does mamar, the assumption is that he has to support her, or if beis din says he has to support her. So it's a matter of whether the finances makes him be able to be mater neder, or how strong the connection is. Okay, I hope it was understandable. We already did part of tomorrow's daf. So, all right, a good vach and a good year. All right.